Batman, he's brave, he's bold, but will he ever join the DCU? That joke genuinely took me 15 minutes to write, and my editor is a writer. Welcome to the channel, I guess. 2 years ago, James Gunn announced the first Batman movie, a part of his DCU, The Brave and the Bold. And since that day, we have gotten 0 updates. Until today, on the Bluebird app known as X, numerous quotes from both James Gunn and Andy Muschietti surfaced today following some of their recent interviews. And some of the wording they used was very interesting. Let's look at it. Let's look at it. I said let's look at it. Yo, where the did we get this editor? James Gunn confirms The Brave and the Bold hasn't cast its Batman yet, and that the story has undergone major changes since the film was first announced. Now, we can do one of two things. We can look at this like rational people, or we can read way too deep into it and come up with genuinely stupid ideas. Well, if you say so. For those unaware, The Brave and the Bold was originally set to introduce Batman and Robin into the DCU. The specific Robin in question would have been Damian Wayne, which would make it necessary for Batman to be very experienced and by proxy pretty old, as this would be his 4th Robin. Why is this a problem? Some people don't like the idea of meeting Batman so late in his career and skipping over his rogue gallery and general growth. Others feel like it's a disservice to the other Robins to essentially skip over them or rework their characterizations entirely. Now, both of these opinions are valid, to be honest, and I think James knows that. When announcing the first DCU chapter, James specifically said Damian is his favorite Robin, and he likes the story that gets told with that, leading me to believe that The Brave and the Bold was originally greenlit out of passion for the story, not necessarily thinking of the implications of the DCU as a whole. Some might say he jumped the gun, get it, like James Gunn, jumped the gun. You must not get it, it's like James Gunn, jump. Now, let's look at what Andy had to say. Andy Muschietti confirms The Brave and the Bold is still happening, and he has to wait a couple months before he can talk about it. A couple months to talk about The Brave and the Bold. A major announcement about The Brave and the Bold in a couple months, you say? Okay, let's look at this objectively. This movie won't release until 2027 at the earliest, and basing it on Supergirl and Clayface coming out next year and us having no promotion yet, I think it's safe to assume that they won't start the Batman promotion cycle a full 1.5 years before release. So what are we talking about in a couple months, Andy? Now, the obvious and rational answer is a casting announcement. Simple, clean cut, this is your Batman. Do I think that's all it's gonna be? Maybe. Is that all I want it to be? No. On that special day in a couple months, I think the casting will only be half the surprise, with the other half being the reveal of the official title, as well as a full overall of what the movie was originally supposed to be. Now, that asks the question, what will this movie actually be about? Let me get inside the mind of James for a second. The Brave and the Bold has had theoretical problems since conception. Introducing a new Gotham, introducing the full Bat family for the first time in live action, Andy Muschietti directing. That's a joke. I like it. Chill out. So as the DCU co-head, with all of these problems in mind, how can we fix this movie? I think it's in everyone's, and I truly mean everyone's, best interest if we start with Dick Grayson. I don't see in what world we have a strong connection to the Titans without getting to see him as Robin first. It seems like such an easy alley-oop to want to set up the future Titans project through the main Batman movies. Also, every previous Robin will add to the next. Dick becoming Nightwing and validating the need for another Robin makes the death of Jason Todd hit that much harder, which again affects the next Robin going forward, because it changes how Batman views Damian's angrier and more brutal nature and how he responds to that. It's a natural progression that literally needs to go in that order. And to the 3 Tim Drake fans out there, I'm so sorry, he just doesn't have anything to do with this conversation right now. Forgive me. Okay, so we're in agreement, class. Nod your head. This movie needs Robin to be Dick Grayson. Nobody else. Editor, next step, please. In every good comic book movie, the villain is just as important as the hero. The original direction of this movie doesn't necessarily mean we can't have a strong villain, but it would have been so deep in Batman's career that we wouldn't have gotten to see the start of said villain. We'd just be kind of jumping in. And before I continue, let me speak to a greater point in the DCU. James has made it kind of clear that he doesn't want to do origin stories. People know the stories, they're redundant, etc. Which to some extent, I agree. We don't need to see Bruce's parents in that alleyway. I think people get the idea. But in instances like this, where we're expanding the idea of a character, i.e. Batman not as a single entity, but as the head of the Bat family, or characterizing an entirely new depiction of Gotham, I think it's important to show why things are the way that they are, how they got to this point, and how it differs from previous iterations. Now, back to the villains. Batman has quite the large rogue gallery. Obviously, we can't do a deep dive on all of them, nor do I think we need to, but keeping in mind the idea of characterizing the city of Gotham, I think it's in this movie's best interest to not focus on a particular villain, but treat Gotham itself as an antagonistic playground for a handful of rogues. Assuming this movie focuses on the relationship and training between Batman and whichever Robin, we could follow Bruce teaching Dick how to navigate and protect Gotham from various threats, giving us the opportunity to travel through different parts of Gotham governed by different rogues. Think of it as Gotham being a big haunted house where every room is operated by a different villain, and then Batman and Robin have to walk through, and Batman has to protect his boy, and Robin is, trying his best. And yeah, that's the movie, Batman the Brave and the Bold. Alternatively, and what's more likely to happen, is we'll focus on a single villain, and for the sake of differentiation, it'll be the most obscure villain you've ever heard of. Fart Goblin or some shit. I don't know. Next up. We kind of touched on this before, so it'll be a short point, but this movie shouldn't only set up Dick Grayson and his future with the Titans, but the idea of the Bat family in totality. James has talked about the Bat family, but only mentioned Damian, which is important, but Bruce Wayne is not just a single father with one son. Obviously, it wouldn't make sense to get all these people in one movie, but this should at the very least set the seeds for the Bat family to be fully realized in the future, setting up the first major arc of the DCU Batman to be oriented around his family, which still works as an ideological origin by shifting the family element from his parents to his children. It's important that we actually see how the Bat family comes to be. More importantly, I want to see how Bruce evolves with the family as it grows into a real family, like a good before and after. There's a lot of potential with content for the Bat family, Titans being the most obvious, but we can also get Batwoman, Red Hood, Batgirl/Oracle, Birds of Prey, solo Nightwing film, etc. There's a lot we could get, so yeah, let's not rush the Bat family and flesh it all out fully. Okay, let's do a quick rundown. Robin needs to be Dick Grayson. Batman's rogue gallery needs to be properly intertwined to the characterization of Gotham as a whole. No obscure villains, please. And the depiction and formation of the Bat family is just as important as Batman and Robin as individuals. I think with all this in mind, we will have a very promising first Batman movie in the DCU. Let's not this up. All that being said, that's it for today. Only time will tell what these major changes will end up actually being. I know a lot of people, trolling or not, have suggested that the major announcement will be the Battinson merge happening, so clearly I'm not the only one losing my mind over this news. Let me know what you think is happening with the Batman movie. I'm curious to know. But yeah, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. This has been Double Creature. Bye.